Hello, teacher. Good evening.
Hello, good evening, Nicolas. How are you? Is everything okay?
Yes, teacher. Thank you. And you?
Great. Everything is fine. Thanks for asking, Nicolas. So we're going to start with today's practice. We're going to work with a lecture, right? A different lecture that we have so that we improve our listening skills, all right? Please be sure that you have something to take notes on because you need to write down certain information. And as in the previous practice, you're going to answer some questions, okay?
Okay, teacher.
There you go. Perfect. Give me 1 second, please. I'm going to start sharing the sound. All right. So this is today's lecture. Please, let's pay attention once again. And let's try at the first, right? Try to understand what is the main topic because I'm going to ask you about those first seconds. So let's go.
Good morning, everyone. Now in today's lesson, I'd like to talk about population growth and in particular fertility rate. Now, can anyone here define fertility rate?
Is it the number of births in a population measured per 1,000 people per year?
No, that's what we call the birth rate.
Okay, up to that part, they are going deeper into those definitions and differences, right, related to some terms, but what is the main idea here? What were you able to understand up to this part, Nicolas?
This person said that he would like to talk about population growth.
Okay, good. And what does it refer to? What is the population grown, more or less? What do you understand by that?
That means the number of people in some zone or country.
Okay, good. That's increasing, right? That's growing, or in general, right? The phenomenon or the growth of that population. Good. I'm going to play once again from the first part, Nicolas, and try to identify, some other important and key terms, all right, besides the one you mentioned.
Now in today's lesson, I'd like to talk about population growth and in particular fertility rate. Now, can anyone here define fertility rate?
Okay, what is the other term? What is the other expression that is important here?
Fertility. I didn't understand very well that word, teacher.
Okay, but it's okay. It's fertility rate, right?
Fertility rate?
Fertility, right? Related to this one. I'm writing that in the chat. I want to word it. And
fertility,
rate.
okay.
Fertility rate. Okay, good. So those are two very important terms here, Nicolas. I'm going to keep going now. I'm going to leave that for more time. Try to understand because you're going to try to tell me what fertility rate is and what the other terms that they are going to mention are. Okay, so let's listen.
Is it the number of births in a population measured per 1,000 people per year?
No, that's what we call the birth rate, the number of children born in a year per 1,000 people. No, the fertility rate is the average number of children born per woman in her lifetime, that is, if she lives beyond her childbearing years. Now, do you think the British fertility level is higher or lower than it was?
I'm going to play once again. So try to do the following, please, Nicolas. You're going to try to give me the definition in your own words. You're going to try to tell me what is fertility rate, and you're going to try to tell me what is birth rate. Okay, fertility rate and birth rate. So I'm playing once again.
Now, can anyone here define fertility rate?
Is it the number of births in a population measured per 1,000 people per year?
No, that's what we call the birth rate, the number of children born in a year per 1,000 people. No, the fertility rate is the average number of children born per woman in her lifetime, that is, if she lives beyond her childbearing years. Now, do you think the British fertility level is higher or lower than it was, say...
All right, up to that part, because I think then they are mentioning something else. What can you tell me about fertility rate and birth rate? Do you know what's the difference and the definition of both?
Yes, I think yes. The birth date is the number of people who live in some zone, and fertility rate is the number of children born alive from a woman.
All right, so we're going to try to verify that information, Nicolas. Thank you very much. I'm going to go back. Let's pay attention to the definition that the girls gives and what the professor is going to say.
Fertility rate. Now, can anyone here define fertility rate?
Okay, so here the girl is going to try to define, right, fertility rate.
Is it the number of births in a population measured per 1,000 people per year?
Okay, the number of births, right? Births in the sense of giving birth to someone, right?
That means that the day that one person was born, right?
Correct, exactly. So he's giving that definition, but it's not fertility rate, right? So he's going to make the correction.
No, that's what we call the birth rate.
Right, that's the birth rate. The birth rate then is the following.
The number of children born in a year per 1,000 people.
Right, the number of children born in a year, right, per 1,000 people. That's birth rate, right? The number of people born in a year per 1,000. Then...
No, the fertility rate is the...
Now, this is the definition of fertility rate.
Average number of children born per woman in her life.
The average number of children born from the same, from the same woman. So that's the difference. Birth rate is the number of people born, right? But the other one is the average children that are born from the same woman. All right, I'm going to go to that again.
Fertility rate is the average number of children born per woman in her...
Okay, per woman. So average number of children born per woman. So the difference is not that big, but birth rate is bigger, right? It refers to every people, right, that was born or that were born, but fertility rate only refers to women, right? And how those women got birth to some children and how many children they were able, right, to have, let's say. Good, so those are the two. Let's keep attention, but before doing that, I wanted to try to explain that with your own words, Nicolas. So try once again, please. How would you define fertility rate and birth rate?
Sorry, teacher, could you repeat?
Yes, so with that explanation and with that repetition once again, try to explain once again, please, Nicolas, what is fertility rate and what is birth rate?
Birth date, as we heard, is birth rate could be the number of every people and who was born, and fertility rate is only for per woman who got a children.
Okay, we're very close. Good. Yes, fertility rate talks about the average, right, number of children that one woman may have, right? And we're talking about every woman over there. Okay, good. Let's continue. All right, let's continue and let's go deeper into this.
Her lifetime, that is, if she lives beyond her childbearing years. Now, do you think the British fertility level is higher or lower than it was, say, 20 years ago?
I think it's lower because these days women are far more focused on their careers than they used to be.
Well, that point is certainly true, but actually, fertility levels in Britain are relatively high at the moment. In 2008, it was 1.96. That means that on average, each woman gives birth to 1.96 children, and in 2009, it was only slightly lower at 1.94. The last time fertility rates were this high was back in 1973. In the UK currently, the highest rate of fertility is in Northern Ireland, where the rate is 2.04, and the lowest is in Scotland, where the rate is just 1.77.
All right, up to that point, here we're using some statistics, right? And the professor is giving some important information and asking the students some questions, right? So what can you tell me about this part? What were you able to get here, Nicolas?
Well, I catch all this part because that this person was giving us information and kind of analytics, and I didn't understand perfectly what he said, but I got the idea.
All right, so we're going to listen one more time, Nicolas, and try to write down, all right, in these 2 minutes, try to use your notebook or a Word document to write down some of the numbers and some of the information that she's given to the class. All right, they are talking about fertility rates and they are talking about specific countries, Nicolas. So try to write down the name of those countries and try to tell me what is the fertility rate in those countries. And if you listen to a year, it's also great. Okay, so I'm playing that again and let's try to catch the more information we can.
Rate is the average number of children born per woman in her lifetime, that is, if she lives beyond her childbearing years. Now, do you think the British fertility level is higher or lower than it was, say, 20 years ago?
I think it's lower because these days women are far more focused on their careers than they used to be.
Well, that point is certainly true, but actually, fertility levels in Britain are relatively high at the moment. In 2008, it was 1.96. That means that on average, each woman gives birth to 1.96 children, and in 2009 it was only slightly lower at 1.94. The last time fertility rates were this high was back in 1973. In the UK currently, the highest rate of fertility is in Northern Ireland, where the rate is 2.04, and the lowest is in Scotland, where the rate is just 1.77.
I don't understand.
Okay, so the same idea. Now I need more specific information. So what were you able to get this time, Nicolas? What names of certain countries were you able to get? What numbers or what is the fertility rate in those countries? Or what extra information do you get now?
Well, the British fertility rate is lower, with a 1.04 until 1973, because IQ has the highest level with a 2.04.
Okay, we got important information there. A little bit of that is true. Yes, it's lower, but not that much lower, right? They're talking about British, right? And they said that it got from 1.96 to 9.94. So they say actually it's not that lower, even though the girl says, right, it's lower. It's not that much, but in fact, yes, right, it's a little bit lower. The one that has the higher, right, is Northern, right, Northern Ireland, and the highest, I think, no, so that's the highest, right, Northern Ireland, and the lowest is going to be Scotland, right, in terms of fertility rate. Okay, so that's going to be it. Okay, it's very important to know those elements, that vocabulary, fertility rate, birth rate, and these kind of analysis using statistics, right? Do you have any questions or comments before finishing? Let me know, please, Nicolas.
Teacher, hello.
Hello. All right, so do you have any questions or comments before finishing? Let me know, please.
Teacher, I can understand what are you talking to me.
Sorry, I don't know if it's my internet. Can you hear me now, Nicolas?
Yes. Now, yes, teacher.
Okay, I don't know what happened, but that's it. Do you have any questions before finishing now? Let me know, please.
No, teacher. No, there's no questions. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. No, thank you. Have a good night and see you tomorrow.
Okay, bye-bye, teacher. Bye, Majo.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Nico. Hello, teacher.
Hello, good evening, Majo. How are you? Is everything okay?
Yes, teacher, and you?
Great. Everything is fine. Thanks for asking, Michael. So we're going to begin with this new lecture. It's the same logic. Please, if you can take notes, all right, do it. You can use your notebook or you can use a Word document. I'm going to play the first part of the lecture and you're going to try to tell me everything that you were able to understand, all right? Let's begin.
Okay, teacher, I'm ready.
Great, very good. So let's start now.
Good morning, everyone. Now in today's lesson, I'd like to talk about population growth and in particular fertility rate. Now, can anyone here define fertility rate?
Is it the number of births in a population measured per 1,000 people per year?
No, that's what we call the birth rate.
All right, up to that point, because starting that point, they are going to start giving definitions of certain terms. That is going to be something very important. But before going there, what can you tell me about this first part, Majo? What is this topic or this lecture going to be about?
It's about a percent of population per year.
Okay, and what that refers to, because you're giving me part of a definition, right? Percent or the number of births per year or per 10,000 or 1,000 people per year. So we have numbers and we have definitions, but what is that? Were you able to get the term for that idea, for that definition?
No, teacher, I can listen in very well the number, but I understand only the percent of the population. It's it that they talk about.
Okay, now we're going to try to identify, you're right, but we're going to try to get what is the key term for that definition that you're giving. Okay, so we're going to listen together now.
Good morning, everyone. Now in today's lesson, I'd like to talk about population growth and
All right, so in this first part, actually, it's the main idea. I'd like to talk about what is the topic? I'm going to play that once again.
today's lesson, I'd like to talk about population growth and
Okay, population growth. So that is the main idea. All right,
Population
that's the main
teacher, like woman.
No, growth like increase.
Growth.
Growth. Exactly. All right, so population growth. That is the main topic. And then he's going to mention another key term.
in particular fertility rate.
All right, in particular what? Fertility rate, right? And that's related to women, okay? Fertility rate. Do you understand that idea over there? Fertility rate, population growth, Majo?
Yes, teacher, I understand.
Okay, very good. So now, pay attention to this part, please, Majo. This is very important. Again, try to write down this. They are going to try to give definitions to fertility rate. But then the professor is going to make some corrections and he is going to give the true definition of fertility rate. And then he's going to give another definition for another key term that we didn't listen yet. Okay, so let's pay attention from this part and try to write down those definitions and those key terms.
Now, can anyone here define fertility rate?
Is it the number of births in a population measured per 1,000 people per year?
No, that's what we call the birth rate, the number of children born in a year per 1,000 people. No, the fertility rate is the average number of children born per woman in her lifetime, that is, if she lives beyond her childbearing years.
All right, up to that part. I'm going to play this again, Majo. So again,
yes, please again, teacher.
Okay, good. We have two important definitions and two very important key terms. So once again.
Good morning, everyone. Now to talk about population growth and here define fertility rate.
Is it the number of births in a population measured per 1,000 people per year?
No, that's what we call the birth rate, the number of children born in a year per 1,000 people. No, the fertility rate is the average number of children born per woman in her lifetime, that is, if she lives beyond her childbearing years. Now,
all right, up to that part, everything that you were able to get, Majo, what is the definition of those key terms that you were able to identify?
Okay, teacher, fertility year, it's the number to women have a baby. has a baby.
Okay, only one you're saying. Okay, good. We're close. We're going to try to adjust certain things, but good. The number of children that one woman may have, right? Or that women have in general. Okay, okay. And what is the other key term?
And the other definition is popular growth. It's a number of birth of percentage per year.
Okay, we're close, but actually population growth, okay, population growth, it's related to both terms, to fertility rate, and perhaps also the other key term, I'm going to write that in the chat. Majo, give me a second, is birth rate. Okay, that's the other one. Actually, that's the other key term, and that's not going to be the same as population growth. All right, population growth, it's related to many other terms as birth rate and fertility rate. But then the two key terms are those, fertility rate, right, and birth rate. Now, yes, I think you're very close to those definitions. It's just that some words are changing the meaning a little bit. So we're going to analyze that together to do it even better, all right? Because your answers are correct, but we need to be more accurate over here.
Is it the number of births in a population measured per 1,000 people per year?
Okay, the number of births in a population, right, measures per, and she gives other information, per 10,000 people per year, or sorry, 1,000 people per year. And he says the same, all right, but he says that that's not fertility rate, as you understand very well. It is the birth rate, right? And he gives the definition in other words.
Oh,
Okay,
no,
teacher.
that's what we...
Yes.
It's in a period of time.
Yeah, it's per year, right? The birth rate is measured per year, and only per 1,000 people per year. All right, every year. And this is going to make us understand better. Let's listen to what he's going to say.
We call the birth rate, the number of children born in a year per...
Okay, so it's the number of children born in a year and
per 1,000 people.
per 1,000 people. Okay, that's the birth rate. The number of children born in a year per 1,000 people. Okay, that is birth rate. Now, fertility rate, again, we're going to work with some adjustments.
No, the fertility rate is the average number of children born per woman in her lifetime. That is...
Okay, so that's a little bit different, right? So it's what you were saying. That's why I say it's correct, but we're going to try to adjust certain words like this. I'm going to play that again.
rate, the number of children born in a year per 1,000 people.
Okay, that's once again birth rate.
No, the fertility rate is the average number of children.
Okay, fertility rate is the average number of children
Born per woman in her lifetime.
Born per woman, right? So we're talking about that every of those women are going to give birth to a certain number of children. And that average of children that those women are going to have, that's the fertility rate, right? How many children each of those women may have during their lifetime. Okay, so that's more or less the idea over there. Again, you did it good, but those little details. What do you say about this part, Majo? Do you have any comments or questions? Let me know, please.
No, teacher, everything is clear. It's about a percentage.
Okay. Now, we're going to pay attention to the next part, Majo. It is about some statistics. He is going to tell us, all right, about the fertility rate in certain countries. So please try to identify those countries and try to identify the fertility rate in those countries.
That is, if she lives beyond her childbearing years. Now, do you think the British fertility level is higher or lower than it was, say, 20 years ago?
I think it's lower because these days women are far more focused on their careers than they used to be.
Well, that point is certainly true, but actually, fertility levels in Britain are relatively high at the moment. In 2008, it was 1.96. That means that on average, each woman gives birth to 1.96 children, and in 2009, it was only slightly lower at 1.94. The last time fertility rates were this high was back in 1973. In the UK currently, the highest rate of fertility is in Northern Ireland, where the rate is 2.04, and the lowest is in Scotland, where the rate is just 1.77.
All right, so we're going to go once again, but you are familiar more or less what the content is going to be about. He's going to mention, right, as you were able to notice perhaps, many countries, well, not that many, 3 at least, and he is mentioning the fertility rate in those countries, and he's showing like a comparison, right, talking about fertility rate. So one more time, and after this, I'm going to ask you about those countries and about the fertility rate in those countries. All right, so let's do it once again.
Say 20 years ago.
I think it's
Time. That is, if she lives beyond her childbearing years. Now, do you think the British fertility level is higher or lower than it was, say, 20 years ago?
I think it's lower because these days women are far more focused on their careers than they used to be.
Well, that point is certainly true, but actually, fertility levels in Britain are relatively high at the moment. In 2008, it was 1.96. That means that on average, each woman gives birth to 1.96 children, and in 2009, it was only slightly lower at 1.94. The last time fertility rates were this high was back in 1973. In the UK currently, the highest rate of fertility is in Northern Ireland, where the rate is 2.04, and the lowest is in Scotland, where the rate is just 1.77.
All right, now try to tell me everything in general that you were able to get, Majo. And if you were able to get the countries and the fertility rate in those countries, you can mention that as well, please.
Okay, teacher, I understand that British is the person are lower because the women are more interested in her careers, and 1.96 children is back. I don't understand, but I think is 2003, and in Scotland how do you say percentage? Yes, the percentage is 1.77%.
All right. So let's analyze together. We're very close. There are some little details again, and you can say percentage, right? The percentage. Now, before finishing, I know that we are on time, but it's going to be, look at the answer that first the girl gives and then the professor. And then we're going to analyze if it's lower or not.
Point is certainly true, but at 20 years ago.
I think it's lower.
Okay, so the girl, this is a student. That student says, I think it's lower, the fertility rate in Britain.
Because these days women are far more focused on their careers than they used to be.
Right, and she believes that is because women are focused on their careers. That's what she believes, the student. But then the professor says something.
Well, that point is certainly true, but actually, fertility levels in Britain are relatively high at the moment.
Okay, that point is true, right? But actually, that important is very important, right? So sorry, that word is very important. But even though that's true, women are more focused, right, on their careers, professions, and so on. Fertility rate in Britain is still high, all right? So it's not low, because the only difference that has been in the last years is from 1.96 to 9.94, which is still very high. And also, let's listen to the other ones to finish, all right, this conversation, the rates in the different countries.
6. That means that on average, each woman gives birth to 1.96 children, and in 2009, it was only slightly lower at 1.94.
Okay, so that's why he says, right? Even though it's that, but it's still high because the only difference is 2 points. And now he's going to mention the other ones.
The last time fertility rates were this high was back in 1973.
Okay, comparing what happened, right, many years ago.
In the UK currently, the highest rate of fertility is in Northern Ireland.
Okay, so the highest rate is in the Northern Ireland with
where the rate is 2.04.
Okay, 2.04, that's Northern Ireland, part of the United Kingdom. And what you said before, Majo, to finish?
And the lowest is in Scotland, where the rate is just 1.77.
That's what you said, right? Scotland is the lowest. So in Britain, it's still very high, even though women are focused on their career, it's still very high. Northern Ireland is the highest with more than 2, and the lowest is Scotland, right? That's it. We're going to finish here. I don't know if you have any questions before finishing, Majo. Let me know, please.
No, teacher, anything. It's a little difficult work with numbers, but not this impossible.
Yes, and working like that, you're going to improve even more because you did it great. Just those little details, Majo. Thank you very much for being in this conversation, and I'll see you tomorrow in class.
Thank you to you. Bye, teacher.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Hello, good evening, Stefania. How are you?
Hello, teacher. I'm great, and you?
Everything is fine, thank you. So let's begin with this practice. All right, we're going to take advantage of this time. I think that you were able to listen to a little bit, well, about this topic. I'm going to play this for you. You know what's the dynamic like. Try to take notes, please, Stefania, on a notebook, on a Word document, because this time you're going to have names of countries and you're going to have definitions, important definitions of 2 key terms, and you're going to have some numbers. Okay, so it's very important that you take notes. All right, so let's begin.
Okay, teacher.
Let me close this and this. There you go.
Good morning, everyone. Now in today's lesson, I'd like to talk about population growth and in particular fertility rate. Now, can anyone here define fertility rate?
Is it the number of births in a population measured per 1,000 people per year?
No, that's what we call the birth rate.
Okay, before going to those details about these definitions that I was telling you, what is the main idea, the main topic in this lecture, Stefania? Were you able to identify what's happening here?
Maybe the, I don't know, in the population increase, maybe?
Okay, good, good. Yes, we're talking about population growth, right? Population growth. Good. There was one other definition, sorry, not the definition, a concept, a term. What was that term or concept that was mentioned before that population growth, Stephanie?
I think, I don't remember, but I listened a fertility and the how do you say that? I don't remember the word, teacher, sorry.
Don't worry, it's okay, but you're right. The other key term, you already gave me the answer. It was fertility rate. Okay, so it was fertility rate, population growth, and there's one more that is birth rate. Okay,
Yeah,
birth rate. Okay, good. So we have those 3. Now, those are very important, Estefania. Now, pay attention, please, because I'm going to go back a little bit, and you're going to give me the definition of fertility rate and the definition of birth rate. Okay, and be careful because first they give a wrong definition, then they make a correction and they give the definition to the other term. All right, so let's pay attention, please.
Rate. Now, can anyone here define fertility rate?
Is it the number of births in a population measured per 1,000 people per year?
No, that's what we call the birth rate, the number of children born in a year per 1,000 people. No, the fertility rate is the average number of children born per woman in her lifetime, that is, if she lives beyond her childbearing years. Now, do you think the British...
Okay, that's going to be for the other part, but I'm going to go back again. I'm going to play that again and try to get the details that you were not able to get so that you can give me the very complete definitions of those 2 key terms. All right, so let's listen to that again.
Okay, sure.
And in particular, fertility rate. Now, can anyone here define fertility rate?
Is it the number of births in a population measured per thousand people per year?
Oh, no, that's what we call the birth rate, the number of children born in a year per thousand people. No, the fertility rate is the average number of children born per woman in her lifetime, that is, if she lives beyond her childbearing years. Now, do you think...
All right, it's up to that part. So what can you tell me about those concepts, fertility rate and birth rate?
Okay, fertility rate, I understand that is the number of children that how do you say, born, yes, per woman. And I understand that. But the other is birth rate.
Okay, and were you able to get something about birth rate? What is birth rate? Because I think you're right with that one, with the first one.
I think is the number of the birds in a population.
Okay, we're good. Actually, you are on the right track. We're going to be more specific. All right, I'm going to play that again, and I'm going to repeat those words, but you're on the right track. Let's only be more specific, like this.
In particular, fertility rate. Now, can anyone here define fertility rate?
Okay, so this is the definition that the girls gives, right? But you know that it's incorrect. Why? Because she believes that that's fertility rate, but actually it's birth rate. So this is the definition of birth rate. And then the professor is going to give us the same definition in different words that perhaps is going to help us a little more.
Is it the number of births in a population measured?
So the number of births in a population, right, measured
per thousand people per year?
Per thousand people per year, okay? The number of births in a population measured per thousand people per year. And the professor is going to say that in an easier way.
Oh, no, that's what we call the birth rate, the number of children born in a year per thousand people.
Right,
No.
So that's birth rate, and this is the same definition, but easier to understand, I believe.
Oh, the fertility rate is the average number of children born per...
Okay, so first he's given the fertility rate definition, right? It's the average children
per woman in her lifetime.
Born, right? Per woman in her lifetime. That's the fertility rate. I think you got that one very well.
That is, if she lives beyond her childbearing years. Now, do you think the British fertility level is...
And then, well, where is the other one? Okay, let me go back a little bit.
Birth rate, the number of children born in a year per...
Okay, this is the one, right? The number of children born in a year per 10,000 people, or sorry, per 1,000 people. So that's the difference. Fertility rate is the average children that each woman gives birth to, all right, in her lifetime. The average children that each woman gives birth to. And birth rate is going to refer to the number of children that were born in a year per 1,000 people. All right, that's more or less the difference. So let's try to explain that one more time, please, Estefania. What is birth rate and what is fertility rate?
Okay, birth rate is the number of birds or borns on a population per 400, I think.
Per 1,000?
1,000, sorry. And the fertility rate is the number of children, number of the births of children per woman.
Okay, very good.
The
Very good, exactly, right? Because in the first one, we're talking about a general, right, in which people are born, right? The number of people that were born. But in the other one, we're talking about per woman, right? In the sense that how many children those women in general are going to have, right? Each of them. Good.
Okay, teacher, what is average?
Average is like the middle point. I mean, if the score, right? Let's imagine that the score, there are, I don't know, right? 5 students. And the scores are 80, 80, 90, 80, and 75, something like that. If you sum up those 5 scores and divide the 5 scores in 5, that's the average.
Okay.
Okay, that's the average. The average is like, right? That number that it's like in the middle of all those scores in general.
Okay, teacher.
All right, good. So great. We're going to go one more. We have 3 minutes. Well, a little bit more, but this time, again, pay attention. He's going to mention some countries, and and next to the students, is going to tell us the fertility rate in those countries. Okay, so let's listen to this part, please.
Okay.
Per woman in her lifetime. That is, I think the British fertility level is higher or lower than it was, say, 20 years ago.
I think it's lower because these days women are far more focused on their careers than they used to be.
Well, that point is certainly true, but actually, fertility levels in Britain are relatively high at the moment. In 2008, it was 1.96. That means that on average, each woman gives birth to 1.96 children, and in 2009, it was only slightly lower at 1.94. The last time fertility rates were this high was back in 1973. In the UK currently, the highest rate of fertility is in Northern Ireland, where the rate is 2.04, and the lowest is in Scotland, where the rate is just 1.77.
I don't
All right, so as in the previous one, I'm going to play once again. You know more or less what the structure is going to be. Try to take notes, and you're going to try to tell me the countries that he's mentioning and the fertility rate that he's given to those countries.
Say 20 years ago.
I think it's lower because these days women are far more focused on their careers than they used to be.
Well, that point is certainly true, but actually, fertility levels in Britain are relatively high at the moment. In 2008, it was 1.96. That means that on average, each woman gives birth to 1.96 children, and in 2009, it was only slightly lower at 1.94. The last time fertility rates were this high was back in 1973. In the UK currently, the highest rate of fertility is in Northern Ireland, where the rate is 2.04, and the lowest is in Scotland, where the rate is just 1.77.
I don't understand.
All right. So what can you tell me up to this point, Estefania? What countries were mentioned?
I think that was very, I don't know, quickly because he said numbers and I don't know. I didn't understand, sorry.
Oh, don't worry. We're going to do this together. Look, this is what you have to do. It's important because you're here, right? This course is for that. We're going to do this together. We're going to stop, and you have to try to analyze in this way.
That means that on average, each only true, but actually fertility, say,
the first
20.
question, all right? So he is first asking to the girl, right, to the student, do you think that fertility rate is lower or higher right now, right? And the girl is going to say the following.
Years ago.
I think it's lower because
She believes that fertility rate is lower in Britain.
these days women are far more focused on their careers than they used to be.
Well,
because women are more focused on their career, right? It makes sense. She believes that it's lower because of that. But he says the following.
Well, that point is certainly true, but actually,
Right? It is true, right? Women are more focused on their careers and their professions. That's true. But actually, so it's not like that. It's not that it's lower. Actually,
fertility levels in Britain are relatively high at the moment.
okay, but actually, fertility rates at the moment, all right, is kind of high at the moment. Okay, so and then we're going to go to the numbers. Let's do it now.
In 2008, it was 1.96.
In 2000, right, it gives the date. It was what? 1.96. 1.96. That's 1.96, right?
Okay.
That means that on average, each woman gives birth to 1.96 children. And
okay, so in average, I explained that word. It means that in average, one woman gives birth to 1.96 children. It means that more or less two, okay? More or less, each woman gives like birth to 2 children, more or less, right? Because 9.96, it's almost 2 children. So more or less, that's the idea.
And in 2009, it was only slightly lower at 1.94.
All right, and in 2009, it was slightly, a little bit lower. Instead of 9.96, now it is 1.94, only 2 points less. So it's still almost the same if you realize. In 2009, each woman is still giving birth to at least 2 children, right? 2 children. That's the idea over there.
The last time fertility rates were this high was back in 1973.
And he's making a comparison, right? The last time they were so high like this, it was in 1973.
In the UK currently, the highest rate of fertility is in Northern Ireland, where
Okay, in the UK, because UK is composed by other countries, the highest fertility rate is in Northern Ireland.
the rate is 2.04, and
The rate is 2.04, right? So little by little, Estefania, and we're going to finish with this, all right? I know there is someone else there as well. So you have to be very focused and try to understand that 2 points and then 0.4, 2.04. That you're talking about statistics, then you're talking about numbers. And that point, it means that it's only 2, then that's 0.4 or something like that. It's almost nothing, right? That's like some decimals we're talking about. Okay, so 2.04, I think.
and the lowest is in Scotland,
And the
where
lowest is in Scotland. That's another country that's part of the United Kingdom. And what is their fertility rate?
the rate is just 1.77.
Right, 1.77. So that's more or less, again, we did it, and we're finishing here. We did it little by little, stopping this listening, but that's more or less the way you need to analyze, and you need to understand the numbers in that way. All right, when you just listen to some points, or when you listen to 1000 or 1973, there are different ways in which they give information about the years and other kind of information related to number. So we're going to learn little by little to understand that. But now, because of the time, we're going to finish here. I don't know if you have any final comments or questions before finishing, Estefania. Let me know, please.
No, teacher. Thank you.
Okay.
Everything's clear.
There you go. So we're going to keep practicing. Try to practice by yourself, Estefania. It's very important that you practice with numbers, all right, with a lot of numbers. We're going to keep trying to learn, all right, learning this kind of information so that you improve your skills with that. But that's practice, only practice, all right? Thanks for being here, and I'll see you tomorrow in class.
Bye, teacher. Thank you. Bye,
Bye-bye. You're
Mela.
welcome.
Bye, Tefa.
Hello, good evening, Melanie. How are you?
Hi, Luis. All good. Thanks. What about you?
Great. Everything is fine, Melanie. So we're going to take advantage. Well, we have these 10 minutes. We're going to use more time if necessary. You can share your screen and you can start with your presentation, please.
Okay, perfect. I am the last one, right? You can say.
What do you mean? I don't get the last one in this set of presentations for today.
Yes.
Okay, let me verify. I believe that you are. You know, I'm having conversations with lots of students, and well, no, Carolina is going to be the last one, but again, I'm going to use those 5 extra minutes.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, perfect. I am sharing my screen. Please let me know when you can see it.
I can see it. Okay, so you're ready. Let's start, please. It's important that you use a timer so that you can control the time. Okay, 10 minutes.
Okay, give me 1 moment, please. Okay, 10 minutes.
There you go. You can start when you're ready.
Okay. Okay, so now, okay?
Great, go ahead.
So today I'm going to talk about the home office and what are some advantages and disadvantages about it. So let's begin. First, we're going to see a little bit how everything starts. Everybody knows that in 2020, there is a pandemic of COVID-19 that changed the whole world. And also people need to adapt to this new reality. So what's really hard for the companies and also for all the world, because this was something new for everybody. So this was the born of home office. At the beginning was really hard because some companies need to know how to adapt the procedures and everything. So it was like was really hard because you need to know how to handle people and also how to use everything that you used before in your computer, and also maybe adapt the places where your workers are and things like that. So also was hard for the companies, was also hard for the employees. So find the work-life balance is really hard because you need to know a lot of, put some limits in your work, and also know that your family is there and you need to handle both. So we will see a lot of these things these last years. And now I'm going to talk about some disadvantage. I will start for this. So it is difficult not to fall in burnout. What is burnout? Burnout is basically when you exceed your own limitations. So you are so tired and you don't know why. You have a lot of things to do, and you are tired. You are exhausted of all the things. Basically, your efficiency can decrease, and this can affect your company. So I'm going to give a little example about what we do in my company and how we manage these type of things. I have the role of the leader in Bolivia team. So it was really hard to keep the enthusiasm and all the behaviors, the positive behavior in all the team. Was hard because you don't have these face-to-face connections or even the feeling that you can see when you are talking with somebody. No, it's just like the voice sounds that is going to give you like an alert to tell you, okay, here is a problem because this person is tired, is upset, or I don't know, some feeling that you need to discover. So was kind of hard. At the beginning, we noticed this with the other leaders of my company, that our team was tired. After 6 months of the pandemic, that the pandemic started, so it was like, I don't know, July, August, we feel that our team wasn't produced the same as before. We could adapt our technology and our procedures. However, when I mentioned like, how guys, how are you? The answer was like, fine, tired. And you can notice that like, oh my God, here is happening something. So we talk with the leaders, with the CEO of the company, and mention this problem. And yeah, we mentioned a little bit of the work-life balance. We put some calendars and everything. However, at the end, it doesn't work really, really well. A lot of the employees quit to the company, so was really hard for us. So for that reason, you need to know how to put limits to your work. I mean, the company can ask for more things and more things and more things, and you're never going to have the time for all these things, but you need to put some limits. So this is also a disadvantage because put limits, it's hard for some people. I receive emails at 3 a.m. in the morning. So it's like there are people working and they don't put limits, and you cannot help them because you cannot say, yeah, go to sleep. It's kind of hard. It's more difficult than that. Also, a disadvantage can be the family. I mean, you're living with your mom, with your father, or maybe your husband, and they can go into your room, or I don't know, maybe you have a desk in somewhere and start talking to you, and maybe you're in a meeting and everything. So it can be a disadvantage for this side. So it's the same that put limits. If you don't do these two things, especially the put limits, you can fall in burnout. So there is a lot of, you need to take care about that. That is some disadvantage that I especially faced off in the pandemic and with my previous team. Then I'm going to talk about some advantages about it. So the 3 advantages is save money. The same for me, for example, I live in Sacaba and my work was like in Quillacollo, here in Cochabamba. So it was a lot of money that I need to spend to arrive my work. There are like 3 buses that I need to catch before be there. So, okay, it was like 10 Bolivian at least per day. And then how my home was really far away of my work. I need to lunch there. So there was, okay, 15 Bolivians in lunch. So, and to be honest, I really earned too much money. So what money that for me was, okay, lost, all the time was lost. Now in pandemic, I could save not a lot of money, but at least these type of things like the lunch and also the buses, because yeah, of course you need to buy some things in the supermarket, but it's cheaper than you can go and pay all the days 10 or 15 Bolivians. You also can save time. As the same example before, I live far away of the work, so I spend like at least 45 minutes in the buses. So, and even if there is not traffic jam, if there was traffic jam, so I need to spend like 1 hour. So I need to wake up at 7 to arrive there like at 8:30 at least. So it was exhausted. I need to wake up and oh my God, I need to go work. And sometimes you cannot catch the first bus because it's really full and you cannot go in that bus. So you need to wait. So it's more time. Now you can save time because you're in your home, you can go for your breakfast. And even if it's not totally recommendable, but you can eat when you are working. But of course you need to take care of this, like your things, you need to put it in other place because you're going to maybe, I don't know, have some food in your computer and it's not going to be something nice, but it depends of each person. And your own space. Also, this is also something good because when you are working in a building, you have like a table, and that table is not just for you. It's like for 2 people or at least 3. This is depends on the size of the table. In my case, in the company, we have this a square table, this plastics square table, and was for 2 people. And I need just to put my computer, and I have a small space, a little space for my notebook, and was like a little stretch over there because there were like 3 tables and we were like 10 people there. Of course, we had this room for meetings, but was not the same because you need to talk with people, and that was kind of difficult to do it in the meeting room. So that is something good because you have now your own space. Maybe your home is not bigger or your room, but you have your own space and you can put the things wherever you want. And yeah, that is something great. So in conclusion, I will say that everybody needs to enjoy this new way to work, because at the end, some companies are trying to put this in, for example, I don't know, you need to go to the office like today, and the other you can do home office. So you need to start enjoying this. You need to put limits and you will enjoy more what you are doing here. And also this is something important for your mental health. It's not just for the company that you need to work. It's just for you that the things you need to do, and you need to spend time with your family, and of course you need to work. But the best thing is that you can enjoy of your place if you know how to put limits and if you don't fall in the burnout. That is the most important. I think I can resume of all what I have been learning in this time of the COVID-19 pandemic. That was really hard for everybody, but at the end we are here and we need to live this new reality. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you very much. So very good, right? 10 minutes, right straight over there. Very good. Now, just give me 1 second. It's important that I'm going to give you now some feedback. So I'm going to share my screen. In doing so, please, Carolina, you're going to give me 2 minutes, please, Carolina. I'm going to finish this with Melanie and I'm going to go with you. All right.
Okay, teacher.
Perfect. Thank you very much. So it was a very good presentation. I think it was very well organized. And I'm going to, oh, what happened? Oh, I think I'm not sharing my screen.
No.
There you go. Now I am. Now, this is what I do, and this is what you need to pay attention to here, Melanie. I'm going to to copy and paste all this information that you see here, and I'm going to explain what you need to do with this. Here in the course, actually, I didn't upload this one, save. If you go to courses, information, and content, here you see I have to improve, right? And I have to improve, you're going to see one interesting Google Sheet, and it's the following, this one. Here, all of you are going to have this structure. Here you're going to see your name, student, in pronunciation, all the right mistakes that you may have had, the same in vocabulary, conjugation, organizing, asking questions, answering questions, and time management. All right, everything that is here, of course, with your name is for you. In this case, you're going to work with these details over here. All of them are related to vocabulary, to expressions, to conjugations, and only these ones are related to pronunciation. All right, very few. Again, the presentation was very good, but there are some little details that we're going to work on. For example, this first question that was also part of your presentation, I think it's better if it's conjugated in a different tense because the way you were presenting that information, right? How everything started, perhaps. Then you were talking about a set of elements, not only one element, because in the second part I saw that you said disadvantages. That's good, but you only said, I'm going to show some disadvantage. But no, you are going to show some disadvantages, right? Because you showed us a set of disadvantages, right? So plural.
Yes.
All the behaviors, right? Then you correct yourself, but anyway, you don't say, right, all the behaviors, no. All the way they act, everything that is related to their behavior in general and as an abstract idea, all right? Not as plural, only as one abstract idea. Their behavior, the behavior of your team, the team that you're in charge of. Okay, here's a problem, but because of your context, it's not here that is the problem, it's going to be here, there's a problem. Okay, so the expression is going to change a little bit, but the meaning is going to be very different. Then, when the pandemic, again, you were given that example, but because of your context, I think it was past. I don't know if you wanted to say that in past, but I only heard like start, but it was going to be started, right? Started. Same here. At the end, it doesn't work, but it was past, right? Because of your context. Then here, if you're going to use the verb as a subject, you have only two options, infinitive or gerund, putting limits or to put limits, but not only put limits, all right? Because that's going to be incorrect. You have two options, to put or putting limits. Here the same, especially putting limits, right? Or to put limits. Then 10 bases before, you only said be, but you know, after prepositions, you need gerunds, right? Before being there. Then I live far off, no, you live far from someplace, all right? So preposition, far from. Then it was exhausted, no, because you were not describing how something felt, you were describing how you felt. So ing, it was exhausting because that produced you to be exhausted, all right? It was exhausting. And then do not say resume, I can summarize, okay? I can summarize this information like this instead of resume because that's used in a different way, all right? And then in pronunciation, just these ones, everything that you used, I think you said that in past, but the D was not clear that you used before. More like, exhausted, all right, exhausted. Efficiency, all right, the efficiency, the stress in those two words, and be careful with the words with th because they have to be a little bit softer. Things, this, that, there, all right, it's a little bit more like that that we need to use. If they were very good, all right, they were not bad, but this th has to be more noticeable so that your pronunciation gets even better and even the accent is going to be more natural. All right. I don't know if you have any questions related to this, Melanie. Let me know, please.
No, I think it's all good. No, just one question. Is you're going to put everything in this Excel sheet, or I need to take a screen?
I'm going to put everything here, but I'm not going to explain what is incorrect. What I'm going to do is I'm going to paste the way they are, but in the incorrect way. Yes. Okay. You need to. You were paying attention now. I'm going to delete the explanations like this, and I'm going to ask you the following class. So, Melanie, tell me, why is this incorrect? Why is this incorrect? right? And you're going to tell me because it needs to be in a different tense, because this has to be plural, right? If I use some, because I don't use behaviors in plural, because I need a comma and I need one subject. There's a problem, and so on and so forth. So what I'm going to do in the following classes, I'm going to ask you about these words, pronunciation and vocabulary, and you need to explain to me. If you explain that to me correctly, I'm going to delete the word and the expression. If not, we're going to keep trying until you tell me the right answer. Okay?
Okay.
There you go. That's it. I'm going to send you extra questions, please, and I need to finish now. 3 questions. You're going to answer those 3 questions by recording those answers and uploading them next to your PowerPoint presentation so that I check that and I can mark the answering questions as well. All right?
Okay, perfect.
Very,
Another
very.
question for
Yes.
the homework for tomorrow. It was the accent of Scotland and Australia, right? That we need to record ourselves reading the passage.
Scotland, and the other one, it was up to you, Melanie. I gave you the suggestion, right, to use Australia as one accent because that's very important, but actually it's up to you. The second one can be an accent from wherever country you want.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Good. You're welcome. Have a good night and see you.
Thanks, Caro. Bye.
Bye, Mela.
All right. Now, sorry, Carolina, I needed to do that with Melanie because she has to see the doctor, I think, tomorrow, and it was very important to work the presentation with her today. Tomorrow, I'm going to work with all of you, and that's going to be the logic. You were able to listen perhaps more or less what's going to be the dynamic. You're going to have 10 minutes to give me that presentation, any topic you want. And I'm going to be taking notes about vocabulary, pronunciation, expressions, conjugation. So it's very important that you are prepared and that you have everything ready to start with your oral presentation tomorrow. All right? I don't know if you have any questions related to that presentation. Let me know, please.
Teacher, could you give me a second, please? I'm going to enter to the computer.
Okay, go ahead.
Thank you, teacher. I have a question, teacher. The presentation is about any topic that we choose?
Anything that you want, but you need to follow the criteria, right? 10 minutes. If it's 9 minutes, you're going to have less score. If it's 8 minutes, you're going to have a 0 in the time management. Well, you're going to still have some score in the other criteria, right? But time management is important, 10 minutes. Try to do it 10 minutes straight, right? If it's 30 seconds less and 30 seconds more, it's okay. So it can be 9 minutes and 30 seconds, and it can be 10 minutes and 30 seconds. You still have 20 points in the time management. But if you do more or less, it's going to be bad, all right? So I'm telling you the criteria. You need to be careful with the pronunciation, with the use of vocabulary, expressions, conjugations. That's it. Besides that, any topic you want, all right? And you can structure the presentation in the way you want. If you want to use an introduction, do it. If you don't want to, don't do it. I'm not going to evaluate that in this presentation, right? But also you have to be careful with the following. Tomorrow, not only you, all your partners are going to work with their presentations. So you need to pay attention. Why? Because there are 20 or 30 points that are saved for asking and answering questions. If you don't pay attention to your partner's presentations and you don't ask any questions, you're going to lose those 20 or 30 points. The same, your partners need to pay attention to your presentation because they have to ask you some questions related to that. And if you answer those questions, at least 3 correctly in a logic way and everything is good, you have those points, all right? So the presentation is going to be divided in that way. You give the presentation in 10 minutes, any topic you want, any structure you want. Afterwards, your partners are going to ask you some questions and you have to answer those questions. And when it's your partner's turn, you have to pay attention to those ones. And after their presentation, you need to ask at least 3 questions, all right? It can be 1 to one partner, the other one to a different one, and so on. In total, if you have 3 asked questions and 3 answered questions, you're going to have the perfect score over there. That's the only criteria to take into account for tomorrow. I don't know if you have any questions related to that, Carolina. Let me know, please.
Thank you, teacher. So all in all, tomorrow we are going to present a kind of presentation about 10 minutes, and we have to choose any topic that we want. And after that, our classmates are going to ask us questions. And teacher, I have two questions. We have to prepare any presentation, I mean, in PowerPoint or Canva or something like that? Or
Yes.
we just have to, okay, teacher.
Yes, it's obligatory. Why? If you don't upload the presentation, the PowerPoint presentation, the Geniali presentation, Prezi presentation, Canva if you want, if you don't use any presentation at all, I'm not going to evaluate your presentation, and that's going to be a 0. All right, so you have until tomorrow, 11:59 p.m. to upload your presentation to the platform, because that's what I'm going to evaluate. Of course, I'm going to evaluate your presentation, but I'm going to do it over that file. Okay?
Okay, thank you, teacher. And teacher, we just have to upload the presentation, not our voices?
No, because the presentation is going to be live, right, in the class. It's going to be in class. So I'm going to evaluate in class with you in front of your partners, all right? So you don't need to upload anything else but your presentation, because everything else is going to be in class directly. All right?
Okay. Thank you,
Very
teacher.
good. You're welcome. And also please remember, again, there's a new channel, right? In that channel, you're going to find all the classes and so on. It's important that you see if you have all the activities. Most of the activities were done on Wednesday, so I think you have them. But check, because we have 5 activities in total. It's important that you have those 5 recordings, and that's for in-class activities. So in total, you need 6. Why? Because it's 5 in-class activities, 5 recordings, right? One was for paraphrasing, the second one was for using Spanish. I mean, not, sorry, the opposite, right? Don't use Spanish. You have to look for different ways. That was the second activity, the second recording. The third one was synonyms or different expressions. The fourth one was imitating the Scotland accent, right? And the fifth one was any other accent that you want, again, for 1 minute, right? The activities and the instructions were given yesterday. And the 6th recording is the vocabulary. You need to record yourself, right? Reading 9 words with their definitions and their examples. That's like the 6th recording. So in total, for tomorrow, you should have your oral presentation that you're going to present in class, your PowerPoint presentation, your Canva presentation that is going to be uploaded in the oral presentation, right, section, and the 6 recordings that I mentioned that are part of the in-class activities. Everything is for tomorrow at 11:59 p.m. I don't know if you have any questions related to that, Carolina.
No, teacher, I'm going to, well, I was watching the video, but I didn't finish. So maybe today or tomorrow, I'm going to finish to complete the audios that I don't submit yet. And also I'm going to prepare my presentation for tomorrow. Thank you, teacher.
Perfect, there you go. And it's important because actually now I was able to give you all the presentation. But yes, it's important to finish watching those videos because there are going to be some details that you need to take into account, right? But again, my big, let's say, advice is be careful with time, all right? Be careful with time and be sure that you're following the instructions for the recordings. If it says minimum 40 seconds and maximum 60 seconds, it has to be like that. Why? If it's longer or if it's, well, not the length that I asked for, that's going to affect the score because the less instructions you follow, right, the less score you're going to have. And that's very important in terms of the content, in terms of what you need to say in the recording, what you need to paraphrase, what you need to say the synonym of, and so on and so forth, all right? That's it. Now, we need to use 5 extra minutes at least until 9:07. So if you agree, perhaps, I don't know if you have any extra questions, but if you don't, we can work a little bit with the lecture that I wanted to make you listen. So what do you say, Carolina? Do you have any questions or something that you want to say?
No, teacher, it's all okay. Thank you.
Okay, very good. So let's take advantage, please, of this time. I think it was very important to mention all those details so that you're ready for tomorrow. And now I'm going to make you listen to the first part of this lecture. This is a very interesting lecture. I need you to take notes. We only have 5 minutes, but it's more than enough because this is only a 3 minutes lecture, part of the lecture. But there are two very important definitions of two very important key terms for this lecture, and then we have extra information. So please, if you can take notes, do it. Try to write down the two definitions that they are going to give here. All right, are you ready, Carolina?
Yes, teacher.
Okay, good. Let's begin now, and there you go.
Good morning, everyone. Now in today's lesson, I'd like to talk about population growth and in particular fertility rate. Now, can anyone here define fertility rate?
Is it the number of births in a population measured per 1,000 people per year?
No, that's what we call the birth rate, the number of children born in a year per 1,000 people. No, the fertility rate is the average number of children born per woman in her lifetime, that is, if she lives beyond her childbearing years.
All right, I'm going to play this once again, all right, so that you can complete that information. Again, you have two important key terms plus their definitions, all right? So one more time.
Good morning, everyone. Now in today's lesson, I'd like to talk about population growth and in particular fertility rate. Now, can anyone here define fertility rate?
Is it the number of births in a population measured per 1,000 people per year?
No, that's what we call the birth rate, the number of children born in a year per 1,000 people. No, the fertility rate is the average number of children born per woman in her lifetime, that is, if she lives beyond her childbearing years.
All right, up to that point. The next part is for something else about the percentage and some rates that he's going to show us. So what were you able to get in this part, Carolina? What can you tell me about these definitions that I was telling you?
Okay, teacher. Well, he says that he's going to talk about population growth, and it mentioned the first word that was fertility rate. He asked about the definition, and the woman said that it was the number of birth for 1,000 people in a year, but he said that it was wrong, that is the definition of a birth rate. So a fertility rate, it was the number of a birth that a woman have in a lifetime.
Okay, very good. Great. Only one little word that we're going to try to, okay, give me 1 second. I'm writing in the chat, all right, to make it more precise. The first rate they are talking about is this one, fertility rate, all right? It's going to be the fertility rate. And then the other one that you got very well, right? That's the birth rate. I think that's correct. Good. So the birth rate, right, is the number of children, right, born in a year per 1,000 people, right? That's the birth rate, correct. And the fertility rate, it's the average of children that, right, a woman may have in her lifetime, right? Good, right? Very good. We're going to keep listening to the next part, please. He's going to mention to some countries and the fertility rate in those countries. Try to get the name of those ones, all right? And what's the fertility rate? Let's do it, please.
Now, do you think the British fertility level is higher or lower than it was, say, 20 years ago?
I think it's lower because these days women are far more focused on their careers than they used to be.
Well, that point is certainly true, but actually, fertility levels in Britain are relatively high at the moment. In 2008, it was 1.96. That means that on average, each woman gives birth to 1.96 children, and in 2009, it was only slightly lower at 1.94. The last time fertility rates were this high was back in 1973. In the UK currently, the highest rate of fertility is in Northern Ireland, where the rate is 2.04, and the lowest is in Scotland, where the rate is just 1.77.
All right, the same. We're going to play this once again so that you can complete that information. All right, let's do it.
More focused on their careers
than it was, say. Now, do you think the British fertility level is higher or lower than it was, say, 20 years ago?
I think it's lower because these days women are far more focused on their careers than they used to be.
Well, that point is certainly true, but actually, fertility levels in Britain are relatively high at the moment. In 2008, it was 1.96. That means that on average, each woman gives birth to 1.96 children, and in 2009, it was only slightly lower at 1.94. The last time fertility rates were this high was back in 1973. In the UK currently, the highest rate of fertility is in Northern Ireland, where the rate is 2.04, and the lowest is in Scotland, where the rate is just 1.77.
All right. So what do you say up to this point, Carolina? What were those countries, or in general, what were you able to get? What countries were you able to identify, and what was their fertility rate?
Okay, teacher. He said, well, he asked if she thinks that the fertility rate is lower now, and she said that yes, she thinks that it's lower than 20 years ago, because she thinks that now women are more focused on her careers, but he says that she's wrong. In British, in 2008, woman has 1.6 children. Then in 2009, a woman has 1.94. And then he says that in 1973 in UK, a woman has had 2.04 children. And then he mentioned something about Scotland, but I couldn't write the number.
Okay, good, very good. I think you're very good with this one, all right? But we're going to go with details again. Can you give me the first number? What was the first fertility rate, the percentage number that you got, Carolina, from Britain?
I got 1.6 in 2008.
Okay, so we're going to correct that one. Actually, he says that they are still high. Why? Because in that year, it was 1.96, all right, 96. And then it got to 1.94. It means that the difference is not that much, right? They are still high. Good. Then what was the other country that you mentioned? What is the country in which the fertility rate is the highest?
UK.
All right, UK, but remember that UK is not one country, but is one group of countries. And in the UK, you can find Britain, you can find Scotland, Wales, Northern Ireland, right? What part specifically from UK is the one that has the highest birth rate? What do you say? Oh, sorry, fertility rate.
I think it's Scotland.
Okay, and you don't have that number, right, from Scotland? Okay, so we're going to listen to that part and you're going to tell me. It's a different country, all right? It's a different country that has the highest. Try to identify that name to finish today and try to identify the name from, or sorry, the fertility rate for Scotland. It's over here.
The highest rate of fertility is in Northern Ireland, where the rate is 2.04, and the lowest is in Scotland, where the rate is just 1.77.
Okay, once again.
73. In the UK currently, the highest rate of fertility is in Northern Ireland, where the rate is 2.04, and the lowest is in Scotland, where the rate is just 1.77.
All right, so what do you say about that last part?
The higher it's in North Ireland that has 2.04, and the lowest in Scotland that has 1.77.
All right, very good. Again, I think you have very, very good listening skills, Carolina. Congratulations for that. Okay, so those little details are something that we're going to keep working, but those are very little. I don't know if you have any questions about this part. What do you find that is still a little bit hard for you? Or what do you think about, for example, this type of listening?
I think it's really interesting, and for me, the most difficult is here and writing because I write really slow. So sometimes I lost trying to write because the conversation is continuous, so I can't write all the things that I would like to write.
Okay, yes, you're right. And also that happens, right? In tests like the TOEFL, you need time and you need to write almost everything. But do you know how to write some abbreviations? Actually, you don't need to memorize other people's abbreviations, right? You can create your own abbreviations. Don't you have your list of abbreviations for important words? You have them?
Yes, teacher. Well, I think in one of the courses, the teacher said that we can abbreviate putting just the syllables, not the vowels. So I try to do that, but sometimes I forgot and I write all the word. But I try.
It's good. Yes, that's the best thing you can do. For example, because you know that you can write this because you can write that, right? Because when you want to add information, it's better if you only write that sign, right? Plus this one and this one. Instead of the name of the countries, you know that you can do, actually, it's easy, right? UK or Northern Ireland, right? Or Scotland, you can write that one. It's better if you write a maximum of 2 or 3 letters, all right, per word that you have. That should be the maximum. If it's one sign, it's better, like that plus sign, right? The percentage, write a percentage. Numbers, right? Write important numbers. But if you write in your notes, all right, a word that is longer than 3 words, at the end, you're not going to get to write everything, right? That's one very big thing. Unless it's one name, one new name that you don't know, right? For example, if you're listening about an author and you need to write the name of that author, it's important to write the complete name perhaps, right? But that's one exception. Afterwards, try to, and you perhaps are going to take one more time the exam or a different test in the future. If you're going to do so, try to apply this logic of taking notes with words that are not longer than 3 words, but you have to understand those ones, okay?
Thank you, teacher.
Good, no, you're welcome. And again, that's it. You're doing it very good. We're going to keep working and practicing until the end of this course. That's going to be it then for today, Carolina. We spent way more time, but it was okay. It's fair for you because I spent more time with Melanie. So I'm finishing now. I don't know if you have any extra questions before finishing. Let me know.
No, teacher, it's all okay. Thank you.
Perfect. You're very welcome. Have a good night, and I'll see you tomorrow for the presentation. Bye-bye.
Thank you, teacher. Same to you. Goodbye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.